Well, there have been some protests in New York City following the death of Jordan Neely. That's the man who was put in a fatal chokehold by a former Marine after Neely allegedly made threatening remarks to fellow subway riders.
That's right. And we are joined now to discuss further. Dietl is with us. He's a former NYC police detective and also founder of the Guardian Angels. Curtis Sliwa is here with us. Great to have you both with us. Curtis, you're, of course, in studio. We're hearing about this situation where some are saying that Marine should be deemed a hero. He certainly allegedly did not mean to kill the man who was taunting passengers, and he actually saved people, other passengers, from this man who had been released from jail some 40 times already.
Yeah, and I think while we're talking, they're assembling a grand jury to hear the case. Nobody's going to get arrested. They'll put it before the grand jury, brag. They'll let the grand jury decide based on whatever evidence and statements of fellow passengers are made. But so far, you look at what limited amount of information we have about this Marine, who's an active Marine, lives in West Islip, surfer guy, reads Don Quixote, goes backpacking. Not the stereotype the demonstrators want. They wanted somebody roided up, you know, with tattoos on them that maybe they can say he's a proud boy or an oath keeper. So far, it appears that it is a good Samaritan who came to the aid of other passengers. And now it's going to be a question of what those passengers say the Marine was doing with the two gentlemen who assisted him in restraining this emotionally disturbed guy who has a history of doing this.
Yeah, and has a history of punching out people, including earlier this year,
right.
An older lady. Bo, your thoughts on this?
Until all the evidence comes out. First it was 15 minutes. Now I hear it's 3 minutes. He had him in the hold. My whole point on this thing right now is if they didn't get involved and if he had a knife or a gun or anything like that, maybe we would have a different story. That Marine is definitely a hero. I really believe this was an accidental death. And in reality, they were trying to control him. And like you just said, it was a 67-year-old woman, had her nose broken, her orbits around her eyes, and he beat the heck out of her. This guy was on the list of the 50 most violent, mentally ill people. This is a violent guy. I'm sorry about his mom. I'm sorry what happened. But let's go to the root of the problem. Mentally ill on our subways. You had Big Bird de Blasio with his wife taking $1.5 billion to try to help the mentally ill. What did they do? They did nothing. If we don't get involved with the mentally ill now, there'll be more acts like this happening. The Marine that grabbed him, he is a hero as far as I'm concerned. He got involved. And if that guy had a knife and stabbed someone, no one would care. Then you got these idiots jumping on tracks. Why don't you tell them where the third rail is when you don't want to jump on the tracks? So ridiculous. Let's all get together and understand something. This is a terrible tragedy for this man dying, but it's also people taking action and don't wait for someone to get killed. And that Marine is a hero in my mind. Again, I relooked at it. Headlock, I've gotten hundreds of people in headlocks. Nobody ever died. In MMA, they use these chokeholds. It knocks them out. And this guy died. It's a terrible tragedy. But as far as that concerned, there was no malice that he knew he was going to kill him at that point.
Yeah, sure. Someone just jumping to action to protect fellow citizens. But at this point, Curtis, it's very much being turned into a racial issue because the man who ultimately died was black, and of course the Marine was white. But simply, do you think it would be this protested this much, Curtis, if we just didn't happen to have those two different races involved?
Of course not. You have white and black. That means everybody is out in the streets. They have their narrative. I got into the hood because as Guardian Angels, we patrol in the hood. People coming up there, oh, man, he killed Michael Jackson. You see that guy, that white boy killed Michael Jackson. I said, he's a Michael Jackson impersonator. He hasn't done a moonwalk in 10 years. He's been a danger to himself and everyone else. But that's the narrative they spin. And notice, the turnout to the demonstrations, not like it was in the summer of 2020. Yeah. Now Black Lives Matter has become big, large mansions. They're running real estate operations. Right. They don't have time to go into the streets and scream, no justice, no peace. Yeah. It's not what it used to be.
Yeah, I don't know if this will gain traction nationwide as a race thing. No. There was an African-American gentleman that was helping subdue this person on the train. There are, from what I understand, reports of people thanking the Marine after they subdued him and, and the police officer showed up. have to establish that, but that's my understanding.
Yeah, reportedly on video,
this is
too.
a
We're
more
hearing there are other
complicated
angles.
Well,
thing.
understand this, out Slim Shady Sharpton, right, who loves to throw gasoline on the fire. He doesn't just want the Marine arrested and charged with murder. He wants the 2 young men who assisted him and held him.
Yeah.
He wants them charged with murder. Look, this is a racket.
You
There's
know-
going to be a
you know
civil suit. It's going to be a wrongful death case, and there's a lot of money to be made. And you watch how Slim Shady Sharpton steer a lawyer towards the family.
Oh.
You know, right now it's very important to understand this was a civilian that took action. Imagine how the poor cops are out there trying to do their jobs and take action on somebody like that. And they would have gotten that cop, if that cop put him into that headlight chokehold trying to control him and he died, that cop would be swinging right now. Nobody's going to do anything. It's just going to be, oh, they have all the rights in the world to kill or push people in front of trains, break a 67-year-old woman's nose and her orbit. That's all okay. But if you take some action now, all of a sudden it's horrific. This was a terrible tragedy, and that's what it is. And you know who's at fault? The city of New York for not dealing with these mentally ill. And we had a mayor, Bill de Blasio, and his wife Charlene there, $1.5 billion. They did nothing with Operation Thrive. And Mayor Eric Adams has to take this to task. Instead of us worrying about these immigrants, we have to worry about these mentally ill, because there's going to be more incidents. And I feel for the mentally ill people, but I also feel for the cops and the civilians out there trying to take action.
Yeah, it seems like being trying to be a good guy, so to speak, anymore, whether it is a police officer or even a citizen, is even more dangerous, because then you seem to be the one blamed and the one viewed as the villain instead of protecting innocent people. And it's just sad that we've gotten to this point, not just in New York City, but really in so many big cities, blue cities around the country. Bo Dietl.
You know, even like in Memphis, you had 5 black police officers killed that black gentleman in Memphis. There were demonstrations were not really big because it was black on black. Now, because this guy's a white guy, if it was a black guy, I would wonder what would be happening right now.
Yeah. All right. Bo Dietl, thank you so much. Curtis, please stick around with us. Appreciate it. And